Hi, everybody. Just trying to make sure that this looks decent. All right. Hey, welcome to Know the Hope with Lorena Gordon. That's me. Here I am giving you a lesson again. This is going to be the new series, and this is the curriculum that we're using. Come on now. This is called Shoulder to Shoulder, Dan Reiland. Okay. Get your copy, get your book. All right, get your copy, get your book. Anne Marie, love you, love you, love you. Okay, we're going to get excited about this because we were excited about last lesson. The last lesson, the last lesson that we were going over is Kenneth Hagin's Believer's Authority. Yeah, yes, good, Anne Marie. Her book is on the way. These are, I kind of gave you a little backdrop as to how I came across these books. It's because of Bible college, etc. I'm going to just try to give you what I've learned. That's the whole purpose of me getting on this channel, of teaching you God's word, teaching you what has been taught to me. And I'm sure that it's been taught to them, and whoever taught them, it was taught to them. And, all because someone wrote a book, all because they read God's word, all because they know that whatever God has given them, it's to share, not to keep and hoard it to themselves. So I'm not doing that. I want to be able to freely give in this book, and the knowledge, the enlightenment that God has given me. I just want to bless you back. All right. So let's get started with today's lesson. Yesterday it was the intro of this book and a little bit of my background. All right. And so let's just get started with this. And let me know in the comments what is going on, things that you didn't know, things that you knew, but had a different perspective of it now, things like that. I love the interaction. I love the live chat, love the live chat. And you know what I'm very humbled by is when y'all share. And because this is stuff that if you didn't know about it, how many more other people didn't know about it, So, or like people just that have made a comment to you in the past week or 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, and said something about church or something about the pastor, or something about not knowing their purpose of the church, or not even knowing if they belong at the church that they're attending. Is it time to move? I know that God has called me to move from church to church. Not church hopping. I'm not talking about church hopping. No, you're committed to the church that God has called you to. It's not about church hopping and trying to figure out. I've heard it said many times, you're not going to find the perfect church. If you do, don't go there because you're not perfect. You're going to taint it. That's a true statement. Okay. Church hopping is a big no-no. All right. Being committed to the church that you're at. And when God has you move to some other church body to serve and to grow in, it will be done correctly, not by gossip and not by being offended. Okay. It's going to be done correctly, and it's going to be okay. So that's another story. That's another lesson later on. But I'm talking about where you are now. Okay. Share this with them. Let them know that these are the things that biblically based topics are going to be coming about. All right. With this lesson, with these lessons. Okay. So let's get started. I went over the intro yesterday. So we are on chapter 1A. So although there are 10 chapters, they're kind of long. There's a lot of information in each chapter. So I might have to break it down that way. Chapter 1A, chapter 1B is tomorrow. Okay, and tomorrow's Friday, and then I don't come back until Thursday. I'm sorry, until Tuesday. Um, so it's Tuesday through Friday. Okay. So let's get to, and that'll give you all a chance to catch up in your reading as well. Okay. So let's get started with chapter 1A. I titled this You, Your Church, and Your Pastor. Um, I didn't want to use the title of the book, okay, because I want you to understand where you fit into both, okay, your church and your pastor, okay, and the calling that's on your life in those two areas, all right? So, chapter 1A, it's a look into the church and into the life of your pastor, okay? All right, so when I was growing up, I really didn't have an understanding of what the job duties were of the pastor, the senior pastor. And let me stop right here, because I'm going to say him. There are many senior pastors who are females, but I'm just going to say him. Do not, do not be offended by that. Okay? Please don't. Don't be, there's nothing to be offended about. Just because I said him, I'm not disregarding the calling of the pastoralship position of a female. Okay? It's like when people have lost their minds and like, that's a steward. It's, oh, the airline steward. No, I'm a flight attendant. Oh gosh, all right. That's a good actress. No, I'm an actor. Oh gosh, here we go. That to me was like, you can just call me whatever you want. I know who I am. My title doesn't have to be anything male, female, whatever nonsense. I'm not offended if you just say him, him, him. I don't. So please don't be offended because I say him. Okay, we know that there are female pastors. I'm one of them. I don't care if someone refers to me and don't know my name and oh, him. I don't care. I don't care. Just like Joyce Meyer, a man came up to her and he said, I never knew that you were a woman. You have such a deep voice. Every time I listen to you, I never watched you anywhere. I just listened to you on the radio. And I thought I was listening to a man. She was like, okay, all right. And he says, I've never heard about God, Christ, the church, this, that, the way you say it. And I thought you were a man. And here I am looking at you and you're a woman. Wow. So he learned that, he learned that was a good thing. Right. Okay. So anyway, um, let me get back to this. Again, don't be offended because I say him. All right. Okay. So anyway, I honestly didn't know the depths of the job duties of a pastor. Literally, I honestly thought that his life was easy. Putting together a sermon, that to me was just homework, for Sunday, does a few counseling sessions during the week and then goes and plays golf. I didn't know any better, I didn't, that's all I saw because I only went to church on Sunday. Well, when I was growing up, it was Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, and then the youth group, right? But what do you see on the behind the scenes there? Hardly nothing, actually, really nothing, right? So now that I'm an adult and I've gone through classes and I've done all that revelation knowledge stuff, right? Now I know the ins and outs. And now knowing the ins and outs, I was wrong about how I thought a pastor's life was. Wrong, wrong, wrong. So thank God that for his enlightenment, thank God that he's the one that showed me, that put me on that path to go to Bible college. I I couldn't get enough. I honestly couldn't get enough. And this morning I was listening to Pastor Cal Cook. He was one of our teachers in Bible college. Mind blown. And he has his ministry is called Golden Altar Ministry. And his basis, his niche is the tabernacle in the Old Testament where the Israelites were moving by day, cloud by day, fire by night type of thing. That's his niche. My pastor, Revelation, the book of Revelation is his niche. Mine is to help develop new believers to grow from seed to tree, that with roots that are deeply seated. I'm the one of the discipleship. I am the one that goes, send them to me. I want to teach them. I want to let them learn, I want to have them learn. This is good to me, So everybody has their niche, just like churches, Victory Outreach Church. It's in their name. There's victory when they go out to outreach. They're good at it too. They're good at outreach. A lot of the times it's in their name. My church is Friendship Church. I'm telling you, no one is a stranger in our church. When I meet someone, I'm like, wow, thank you. It's such an honor. You know what? You're family now. You're family. And that's how we all see each other, as family. So anyway, so thank God that that he had put me on that path to understand these things. It's that important, people. It's that important so that you can understand your church and your pastor and your part in each. Okay. So the needs and the problems of not only church members and attendees, but the needs and the problems of the church staff, of the church leadership, the church in general, just because, what goes on behind the scenes in the church office, all those things, it really opened my eyes of how busy a pastor can really be at church. When they go to church, at the church office, it's busy, 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 busy. And there are times when they stay at home. Okay, they know that no one's supposed to come to the church office, and they'll stay at home in their office at home and still do church stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. Let alone that their husbands, they are wives, they are mothers, they are fathers, they've got kids, they've got schoolwork for the kids, they got to take them to practice, they got to work on their marriage, they got to keep it strong, they got to have a family unit, they got to go put gas, they got to go to the grocery store. Yeah. Right. Like, what is going on here? Okay, so number 2, pastors go through long hours, marathon hours. Okay, not a sitting and watching TV on the good show. Marathon hours of work and the behind the scenes between Sundays. Marathon hours of counseling. Marathon hours of getting those phone calls in the middle of the night. Guess what's just gone on? My son came home. My daughter came home. They're drunk. The cops are called. Da 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 da. And what do they call? The pastor. It's okay. It's necessary at times, but there are other church leaders. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Anyway, I realized that he must be emotionally exhausted from ongoing counseling sessions with troubled teens, with marriage counseling and them arguing all the time, or they arguing with their teens all the time, with their teenagers, just problems, exhausted, emotionally exhausted from the counseling. Can you imagine counseling people day in, day out, and all they're doing is just dumping problems in your ears all the time, day in, day out, and crying or depression or anger or, the frustration. And sometimes they take it out on the pastor, and it's not the pastor's fault. They just do it because they're so frustrated. That's what your pastor has to go through. Yeah. Okay. Meetings with the board to go over the budget, meetings to go over payroll, meetings to go over church insurances, meetings to go over bills to see if there's enough money to cover bills. All the things that need to be repaired in the church. There are a lot of things that need to be repaired in your church, and there's money that's needed for that, right? So a lot of the times people have this misconception of tithing. Tithing, oh, that's just to put it in the pastor's pocket. No, the girls' bathrooms toilet doesn't work. Now they have to call a plumber. No. We have to pay insurance because who knows who's going to want to sue the church. Yes, they have to think of those things like that too. Come on, people, they don't act right. And they slip and fall, and it's the church's fault and who knows what. When you ain't got the right shoes on and you go and slip and fall, you want to blame somebody. Someone has to pay. I'm telling you, these are the things that your pastor and the board have to think about, have to pray about, that they go through week after week. A pipe burst, and then what? That's where your tithe money goes to. Your help supporting your church. Yes, of course it's to help do payroll. Can you imagine if you got hired at your church to do something and they don't want to pay you because or they couldn't pay you because there was no money? All right. I'm just letting you know. Okay. So what else do? They have to, the church is run very much like a business because it is. They've got budgets, they've got, deadlines that they have to meet. Just the same thing, department after department, depending on how big your church is, who's in charge of those departments type of thing. Okay. They have to go through city, county, state departments to get answers that they don't have. Permits that they need. They have to go through all those things. What if they do get sued? Who are they going to have to hire an attorney? But there it is again. What's going to happen? These are the things that your pastors go through. Okay. The pastor, the pastoral staff, and the leadership get a direct hit spiritually. It's a direct hit. It's a spiritual demonic attack because they are the leaders of the church. They get hit more, and it's a harder hit. Let's think about that for a minute, right? Okay, so and believe me, the devil is more than happy and more than capable of attacking the leadership of your church. That's what he's out to do. Because what will happen if your senior pastor or one of the associate pastors get involved with something that's negative? It's going to cause division in the church. It's going to cause gossip in the church, and then that's where Satan just kind of he's on his heyday because of that. All right. Did you know that? Okay. And don't forget, in all of this, they still have to go home and be a parent and be a spouse. Everything that you go through, they go through too. Bills that need to be met in their own family, let alone the church, so that not only did they go to church and deal with all that stuff that they've gotten their final notice on, et cetera, but they have to go home and find final notices on their at home too, or that their kid was acting up again in school. They go through the same thing you do. Yeah. Okay. Number 3. At first, it was hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that my pastor is only human. Only human? Yeah. They get tired too. They get sick too. They have to go to the bathroom too. They have to eat too. So, to me, it was like when I was a kid seeing one of my teachers at the grocery store, I was like, what are they doing here? I didn't know that they had a private life. I was little. I didn't know that they had a private life. And I was like, oh, I saw her. It was like seeing a celebrity or something. Wow, I saw them at the grocery store. All right. So my pastor is very much human, just like the rest of us. However, just because I know that my pastor is human, I still honor and respect the position that my pastor holds. The position that he holds is shepherd as pastor in the church. Okay, and we'll get to that importance later. It's that important. Okay. So all pastors have their weak areas and all pastors have their strengths. It's even in the pastoral stuff of your church, whatever pastor has strengths in, think of one pastor that has strength in one area. That might be another pastor's from another department weak area. For example, if your pastor is good about quoting scripture, another pastor is like, let me look it up. I know it's in the Old Testament, so let me look it up. It might be one of the minor prophets. It might be one of the major prophets, but let me look it up because I know it's there. You see how that is? One pastor might be strong in spiritual warfare, and the other pastor's like, I really don't know anything about that, you know? So let me ask senior pastor, right? So you saw your teacher there too? Yeah. And Marie, it's like, what are they doing here? You know, you would just think that they just had their glasses on, lived in school all the time, right? And then the same thing at their house or something. You would never thought that they had a social life, right? So anyway, okay. So you know what? Number 4, let's talk about the partnership part of this relationship. It's a partnership, okay? So how's this first statement? Your pastor needs you, and you need your pastor. Your pastor needs you. I don't care how big your church is. Your pastor needs you. And you know what? You need your pastor. Yeah. Okay. So that's an eye opener because it's a true statement. It's a true statement. And because it is, it's like, what did you just say? My pastor needs me? You don't even know me. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay. When you and your pastor are on the same page, okay, with the same vision, okay, the fruit of that partnership will be salvations. And then you're going to be able to see the privilege of seeing your church grow because you reached out to someone who needed to hear your pastor preach. I'm always just praising how my pastors, they're amazing. Pastor Danny, Pastor Kevin. And then when our youth leader preaches, which is Pastor Jay, oh my goodness. When Andrea, First Lady, when she says something, wow. And then she's our praise and worship leader who she sings professionally too. Her mother Jackie, come on, man, I can give you a big list of just how I'm amazed of I tell everybody that I can, so that they can see salvation. I just heard a friend of mine, Pastor Lionel, back in California, that someone forwarded his live chat with his first lady, with his wife, First Lady Cindy, to someone. So someone in the church was listening and they forwarded it to a person that they knew, and they gave their life to the Lord because they listened to Pastor Lionel and Cindy. That's what it's all about. That's the whole purpose of it. Okay. So I'll read that in a minute, Miss Anne Marie. Hold on. So because you see the unity, and because you see that it's honorable, so God, it's giving God the glory for it. God gets all that glory. Absolutely. So it says here, they really do have a lot on their plate. Yes, they need us to step up and volunteer. Yes, absolutely. And do what you can. And you get to see the depths of it. You get to see the behind the scenes of what needs to be organized and what needs to go forward and what needs to stop. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so number 5. I'm sorry, I'm still on number 4. So do you realize that when Jesus started his ministry, even he had to choose 12 people? Yeah, yes, behind the scenes, just to have the Sunday service go smoothly. There's a lot. That's why I get there an hour and a half earlier. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. All of a sudden, it's like, what happened? The light was working and then now it's not. What happened to all the seats? How come they're all in disarray? So we have to go and set up. Who dropped this on the floor? We got to go and get the vacuum. Um, just things. What happened? Who called in sick that they can't come and volunteer to help out? Okay, now we got to find someone to cover. You know, pastor's notes, where did they go? The computer doesn't want to turn on anymore. What's going on? There are a lot of behind the scenes that happen that the devil is trying to keep from happening. Yeah, there are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, right? Okay, so do you realize that when Jesus started his ministry, he had to choose 12 disciples to expand the ministry? Okay, it does not fall on your pastor. That doesn't not to he can't do it all. There's no way he can do it all, right? So God's plan is for you to be a part of the ministry. God's plan is for you to be a part of the ministry. Okay. God wants you to fulfill your purpose to your church, in your church, through your church, for your church. Okay, so you're going to be developed, you're going to be fed by your pastor at the church and be a part of it and be part of that family. So that way that you will understand your gifts and talents and how you can bring your specific gifts and talents to your church to expand God's church. Okay, so when there's unity in the church and you've taken part of this unity, God honors that. And God honors the effort, and then you'll see the growth and the strength in your church, and you have taken part of that. That's an honorable thing, and God is well pleased with that. Number 5, God planted a seed in you, which has his DNA. Did you know that? God planted a seed in you, in every one of us, and it has his DNA in it. Okay? Since we have that in us, we have the desire already built in us to act and to serve, to please God. This is a life of abundance. When you are fulfilling the purpose that God has in your life, this is a life of abundance, right? We'll talk about when pastors need a sabbatical later, when pastors have to take a time off later. But the abundance, it's the abundance of you taking part in having things go smoothly, being reliable, being loyal, being committed, being faithful to the ministry of your church. That's a life of abundance. Okay. All right. So let's see here. God will lead you, he'll teach you, and he'll guide you. And all because you're willing to partner with your pastor. God will tell you, God will show you. That maybe you don't even know that you like the drama department. You probably didn't even notice that. Maybe you did, and then now you're like, this is my calling, I love it. That's really good. That's good. God wants you to be that excited about working his kingdom. Okay, so number 6, this is number 6, and this is where we'll stop for the day. But number 6 has 7. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Number 6 is perspectives. I'm sorry. We're not going to stop there just yet. So number 6, we have some perspectives of church. Okay. That I didn't know about. So I'm hoping that this will resonate within you. Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points here on some perspectives of the church. The church is ordained to help you fulfill your potential. Did you know that? The church is ordained by God to help you fulfill your potential. So when people say, I don't have to go to church, now you know that they're not fulfilling their potential. That's how much God honors his church. It says, don't forsake the gathering of the brethren. That's in Hebrews. That means get to church. It's that important. Okay. Second point is the church, God's church, sees things globally. And you can help make that happen and be a part of it globally. So what if your church right now, let's say you belong to a small church, and they have a vision to reach internationally, globally, and you do everything that you can to expand globally. And all of a sudden, you've got members in other countries coming to your church if you're online, right? So let them be online. But if you're local to your church, get to church. I'm sure that they're taking every precautionary measure, especially right now with COVID. I know we do. We got those sanitizing things all over the place. Even when we give out the communion cups, I got my gloves on, my mask on, the shield on, whatever. We have to be covered up. We spray everything before service and after service. We spray everything. We're trying to keep the distances, right? So right now, a lot of people are online. So there's not a whole lot of people in the church sanctuary at my church. And that's even better for me, at least for me, but I'm going to church. I know I'm going to church. I'm making that commitment to go. Be a part of your church, the ins and outs. Okay, enough of that. Okay, so number 3, God has ordained a senior pastor. God ordained that position. God ordained that position and placed your pastor there. Okay, so he's the shepherd just as much as he's a typology of Jesus being our shepherd. He's a shepherd to the flock. Who's the flock? Me and you. Okay, we're the flock. Our pastor is our earthly shepherd. Okay, so everything on Psalm 23, we should be good. Of course, that's God, right? That's how God is with us, etc. But our shepherd here on earth, my pastor cares for his flock. He has such a compassion for us, and you can tell. He drops what he's doing. And I always tell him, Pastor, it's time for you to start delegating. And he's like, oh yeah, yeah, that's good. That's true. So whenever I need something, I'm trying to go to other pastors that are just as smart, just as wise, just as intelligent, just as appointed. Yeah, my pastor is the head shepherd. The senior pastor, Pastor Dan, he's our head shepherd. Okay. And in your church, you'll know your senior pastor is the head shepherd. You're the flock. Okay. All right. So the pastor is God's chosen person to do it. Okay. And then another point is that the pastor follows God's agenda for his church, God's church. Our pastor, his agenda is God's agenda. Okay. He prays all the time. Okay. And the last one is that the church is where you grow spiritually by adopting its teachings to your personal life. That's how you're growing. You don't go to church or listen to the sermon just on Sundays and say, oh, wow, that was great. What time is the game starting? Okay, done. Gotta go. And then don't pay attention to anything that the pastor has taught on, preached on. It's just you got to apply what he's saying to your personal life. That's what it's for. It's, what if you heard it somewhere else? What if it was Priscilla Shire Aren't you going to take what she says? Well, then why not take what pastor says, your pastor says, right? And apply it to your life. Okay, so here we are now, number 7. Okay, so I don't know if that helped you to understand basically, and those are just what 5 bullet points. There's more to the church than that. Okay, that's why I'm saying get your book. Okay, and then number 7. So when you want to get to know your pastors, okay, are you willing to support your pastor? It makes it a lot easier to support your pastor when you get to know your pastor. Okay. Their position is very hard. Okay. So are you willing to get to know your pastor, like to get to know your pastor? Okay. However, just keep in mind that a personal friendship may not be the result of you getting to know your pastor. Okay. And we'll get into that later on. It may not result in a personal friendship. And that may not be that's probably not even the goal. I want you to know your pastor. When's your pastor's birthday? What about the spouse? What about their anniversary? Okay, what are their favorite colors, foods? Okay, excuse me. Who's their favorite teams? Which ones are their favorite teams? You know, I gave a class one time just about, I had picked this part out years ago. And I said, do you know how I know your pastors? I asked them, did you know that your pastor's birthday was on such and such a day? And people were like, you know how I know? I don't even come to this church. They asked me to come and teach. You know how I know? I asked them, hey, by the way, when's your birthday? What about your wife? When's her birthday? What's your anniversary? The names of your kids? Their birthdays? Thank you. What's your favorite dessert? Flat out, all-time favorite dessert. That's what I want to know. Ask them. Okay? Just by your commitment to the church is such a relief to your pastor. When you're committed to the church in general, when you say you're going to be there and you actually are there, that matters to the pastor. He's thinking, well, you know what? It's just like baseball right now. When baseball was happening and there's no one in the stands, but what did they do? They put a bunch of posters of people and they put them in the stands chairs, and they put, we were watching the Oakland A's game, and they had this huge giant teddy bear. I mean, it was huge, and they set him in the stands way over at the foul line, and the batter hit it, and it hit the poor bear in the head. And the next day, they showed that bear, and he had a big old bandage around his head. Your pastor wants to know that he's actually preaching and teaching to people, not bears in the stands, right? Okay, it's the same thing. It matters to your pastor that he's not preaching to an empty chair, okay? All right, let's get that straight, okay? Anyway, that was just so funny. Oh, look at the poor bear. That's a bandage around his head. Okay. So we understand that he's a very busy man. That's true. It's a very busy man, but make yourself available. Make yourself available. He's busy. Guess what? Get busy. Right? I know my pastor's busy. I just try to, real quick, Pastor, what do you need? Yeah, I need for you to do that. I'm on it. And I take off. I don't have to stop. Pastor, guess what? And this and that. And did he, most like, especially not on a Sunday, my pastor ain't got no time for small talk. Not for, I know better. Okay. If I need to talk to him on a personal level of, this, that, and the other, and honorably with First Lady, I don't want to infringe on that. She needs time with him too. Huh? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can ask someone else. Or you know what? Better yet, let me ask God. Let me go to God. Let me do that. How's that? Yeah. Okay. So he's a very busy person. Make yourself available though. Okay. Let him know. Let him know that you enjoyed the sermon. Go out of your way to let him know that you enjoyed the sermon, especially that part, whatever part, so that they can know that that mattered to you, that they're actually reaching people that are listening. Okay. Thank him. Thank him for his obedience to serving God. Thank your pastor. Tell him tell him or her that they are appreciated, that you see that the efforts that they're making matter to you, so that they can say it actually does matter to somebody. Wow. It'll honor them. Let them know that you enjoyed the sermon. Thank him. Thank him or her for their service into God's kingdom. Let him know that he's appreciated. And you know what? Why don't you invite them to church? I mean, to lunch after church. Set up an appointment. Okay, not this Sunday, but not today's Sunday, but how about the next Sunday? So then we have a plan. Okay, we're on. Next Sunday we're going to Chili's. Next Sunday we're going to Cheddar's. Next Sunday we're going to In-N-Out Burger. Next Sunday we're going to go wherever. Treat your pastors. Let them know that you care. All right. So now, knowing all that, I'm going to tell you something. We have misconceptions. I know I did. These are statements that are not true. These are misconceptions. And this is where we're going to end this, okay? These are misconceptions. These are misconceptions of a pastor's life. And these are right out of the book here, okay? Misconception. Pastors have an easy job. Lie, lie, lie. That's not a true statement. They do not have an easy job. When you don't know exactly a person's job duties and responsibilities, you'll start making things up and you'll lessen it. What? Putting together a sermon, that's easy. Yeah, okay. All right. It's easy to come up with a conclusion based only on what you see on the surface. No bueno, no bueno. Here's another misconception. Pastors have a model family. Oh, all the kids are such good kids. They don't talk back. Oh, they're PKs, they're preacher's kids. Of course, they're such good kids because they have such great parents. Look at that. All the in-laws are not outlaws. They all love each other. No, that's not a true statement. Not all pastors have a model family. They have problems too. Okay. Their spouse and their kids are like yours and mine. Okay. They argue too. Yeah, they argue too. They have more troubles. They have troubles too. Probably more because the enemy attacks them more because they're in leadership positions. They're super busy, just like you, just like me. They're super busy, but even more so because not only do they have a church family, they have their own personal family. Okay. Here's another misconception. This is also not a true statement. Pastors are experts in their field. Think about that one. Pastors are experts in their field. The problem is that they have to wear so many hats and that they cannot be an expert in their many fields. They can't be a plumber because the toilet stopped up or this toilet stopped working. That hat, they're not an expert plumber, along with an expert pastor, an expert study person, a person that studies all the time. And now we got a hole in the wall. So now they got to use plaster, or they have to fix that hole. And now they're a construction worker too. A tile lifted. off the floor. So before someone trips and falls and tries to sue the church, they have to go and get that fixed. So they're going to be that too. Something's off on the budget of the finances. So now they have to be accountants and CPAs too. Professionals? No, no, it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't. The problem is that they have to wear so many hats. They can't be an expert in all the fields. We tend to think that they only have one playing field when in fact they have many. Okay, here's another misconception. Pastors are blessed with an ideal marriage. Misconception. That's not true. They may get along, and you know, a lot of their hardships have been early in their marriage, but you know what? They're still two different people. So their marriages get hit harder from the devil because the devil wants to get there first. He wants to get into that marriage first. That's his first goal, is to destroy that marriage. Okay, so he's going to attack more. You know, there's more people that are counting on the pastor's marriage than they are on your marriage to be successful, right? Because all eyes are on the pastor, yeah, and his wife or her spouse, you know, her husband, right? And that is going to cause division, not only in their marriage with their kids and their family, but also in the church family. It's going to cause a division. Well, I knew that was going to happen because look, she this and da da da. And look, what about him? And oh no, he's got an eye. Oh no, he used to be a drinker. I know that for sure. Oh, what about her? Oh yeah, she see that skirt that she wore last Sunday? Mm-hmm. I knew that. We don't do that. Okay. So their family, the church family, everybody gets attacked when you think that their marriage is so good. It's not. They have to put on a face. Unfortunately, they have to put on a face as soon as Sunday comes. What if they got in a big argument right before church started? And showing that. And you're probably saying, well, yeah, but that's being human. Well, you've got a nice heart, but that's not everybody's heart. People are literally waiting for their pastors to fail and to show it so that they can catch them in it. You see how hard it is? You see that? It's difficult. Okay. Here's another misconception. Pastors enjoy the fellowship of many close friends. Wouldn't that be nice? Many close friends. They enjoy the company of many close friends. You know that's not true. That's not true. What close friends? Yeah, what close? They have to be careful because people literally are trying to get into the pastor's circle to bring them down. You see how the devil works on that? So the pastors are very cautious. They're very cautious about who they bring into their circle, and they have every right to do so, and they ought to. Okay, that's why that topic of that just because you're getting close to your pastor doesn't mean that it's going to end up being a close relationship, friendship. Okay, that's not so. All right, you may be the most trusted person, loyal, etc., and still not be allowed into the circle. There a lot of time needs to pass by before they do. And you know what? Maybe it's just not that meant for that. Maybe all it is that you need to be a pillar in the church that the pastor can count on. That's where your loyalty is going to come from. And when you hear people gossiping about your pastors, you'll be the one to say, that's not going to happen here. If you have a pastor, if you have an issue with the pastor or his family, his wife, her husband, you need to go directly to them and not spread it over here. You need to take that stand, and they're going to know that you're not the one to go and try to fill their ear, that they're going to try to fill your ear in the future, that you've put a stop to that right then and there. Okay? That's what your pastor needs, is someone to defend them, to stand up for them. Even if they are wrong, that's none of our business. That's between them and God. Huh? Hey, all right. All right, let's see. Due to confidentiality and due to judgment, because people will pass on judgment, pastors have to keep a distance. You know, I had reached a point where we were rearranging the church chairs in the sanctuary for an event that was coming up, and I was there to help. But I lost a lot of muscle mass because of the chemo pill, and everyone knows that. Everyone knows of the frailty, and I used to be freakishly strong, people. I'm not kidding, freakishly strong. And I tried to move a chair, and I stacked one on top of the other, and I was trying to move it, and pastor like immediately put that down. Oh, and he rolled his eyes and he says, ugh, stubborn. And I was like, I was so happy. I was so happy. And he goes like, what are you happy about? And I said, because you gave me the stink eye. You've never given me the stink eye before. I reached a new level. That's where I knew that pastor can actually, be himself to that extent, to be himself to me, and I was like, First lady, First lady. He gave me the stink eye. She goes, okay, well, there you go now. There you go now. He gives it to me all the time. I was like, okay. So now this is a good moment for me then, right? She goes, okay, gotcha. It was so funny. To me, that was funny. He was like, God, you're just so stubborn. That was funny to me. Okay. They do have to keep their distance. Okay, another misconception, the last two now. The last two misconceptions. Here's another one. Pastors consistently experience a vibrant walk with God. Consistently vibrant walk with God. When do they have the time to dedicate 2 to 6 hours a day to that? Okay. When they're doing church office stuff, they're not just sitting around waiting for a burning bush to speak to them. Angels are singing and trumpets are sounding and it's all quiet and calm. No, they've got meetings. They got people that are sick. They have to go to the hospital. They have to make sure that, that the pipes are working now. They got to make sure that the internet was up and that the bills were paid and that the counseling people are coming, for their session again. And, they get calls all the time. People that are telling them off on the emails. People that say, I don't like that this happened. I don't like that. I think that the worship team is this, and I think that your sermons are that. Yeah, people do that. They have to go and put out fires here and there. When do you think that they have time for that? They do. They make their time. But that statement that they constantly experience, a vibrant walk with God, constantly, no. Remember, we already settled the fact that they're humans. Okay? So they have to do the church office work, their prayer time, meditate on God's word time. When do they get to do that? They make the time. They have to force to make that time. And it might not be 2 to 6 hours a day. It might just be 45 minutes. It might just be, another hour here, another hour there. They might take a little bit longer lunch just to eat quickly and finish that sermon. Or to finish that counseling session so they can go and grab a bite to eat. Or call someone, can you bring me something to eat? I'm stuck here in the office. Yeah. While being called left and right to put out fires along the way. What makes you think that they have oodles and oodles and oodles and oodles of time to constantly experience a vibrant walk with God? They have to make that time, and they sure do. And you know what? And let's allow them to, right? Okay. It's rare that they get to tiptoe through the tulips in the meadow with garden. With God, in the meadow with God, right? And then playing golf twice a week, 4 times a week. No, they don't do that. My pastor loves golf, but it's rare that they get a chance to go away. Why don't you get them a gift card? Allow them to get away. You know what? Here, I'm going to pay for one night. Anyone else want to pay for one night at a hotel for them so that they can just get away and refresh? Yeah, let's do that. Let's gift them with that. How about that? That would be, man, I'm telling you that, pastors, y'all need to be thanking me right now. Here's the last misconception, and we're done for today. Misconception, also another statement that's not true. Pastors are content and fulfilled in their work. And in all honesty, do you really want to hear someone's problems and woes 8 hours a day? Do you really want to have this urgency to be the one to always get dumped on by those ugly emails, phone calls, text messages? You screwed up again. That's why I was pointing at my watch while you were preaching. You went over your time. People do that. People do that. I've seen it myself. Wow. Yeah. So it's one of the most emotionally draining jobs ever, right? Because pastors also have to be counselors, whether they're licensed or not. You're still going to them for counsel, right? For godly wisdom. Okay. That's draining. That's draining, emotionally draining. I honestly don't see how my pastors do it all the time, right? Hours and hours a week of counseling, hospital visits, funerals, and that's someone that passed away was probably close to them, and they still have to perform the whole thing and get everything ready, right? Keeping up with state and government laws to comply, then to hear people complain about them. I'm telling you, when this COVID hit, they were like, well, we got to tell, well, that's the thing of the government. They try to keep you in fear. And you know what? We just have to comply. Just put your mask on. I know that there's a pro and a con, but we still have to comply. Okay. These are the laws of the land that God has placed us in. All right. It gets tiring, even to the best of them. You can have a pastor that has the most compassion. You can have a pastor that has the most patience ever. But it comes to a point where they're like, oh, another counseling session, another funeral, really? People want to use a church. People off the street want to use a church. People, I'm telling you, I used to be in the pastor's, in the front office a lot. The calls that, well, my grandma used to go to your church back in, the 90s, and she has always invited me, but I never went. But can you pay for my electric bill? Huh? Look, we always ask, are you a member here? Because what if your member needs the same thing and there's only limited funds in that funding, right? I'm telling you the behind the scenes that you don't even think about. That's why it's important to support financially to your church. That's why it's important to serve of your time, of your gifts, of your talents to your church. Yeah, right? I'm telling you, there's so many things that we don't know about. But for you and your church and your pastor to partner, that is amazing. Let me know what you've learned in this session. Some things you may agree with, some things you may not agree with. All right. And you know what? Some of the stuff that when I was learning, I was like, I don't get it. I don't get, so I may not have agreed with it. But as time went and the more that I was behind the scenes, helping support the behind the scenes stuff, and then it was like, I get it now. Now I see. Okay. So these are tough things to listen to, right? These are the things that we're not used to. We didn't know that about our pastors. We didn't know that they're on the front lines all the time. They stand in the gap. You know what that means? Is that they'll take the hits for you. When they know that God is the one that ordained them, and that they know that that message is particularly from God, that he wants that message preached to the flock, the enemy's going to come and attack your pastor, and he's taking that for you because he knows the importance of what God told him to tell you. Let's pray for our pastor. Put them right up at the top of your prayer list. All right. It's been an hour, and I want to thank you for staying on with me this long. Tomorrow is chapter 1B. All right. Chapter 1B is tomorrow. I love y'all. Thank you, Miss Anne Marie. Double portions, wealth, health, wisdom, and revelation knowledge to you. Thank you so much for subscribing. Having people subscribe to this channel means a lot to me. Thank you for sharing. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.